thank you so much for coming on the walkthrough of Do Not Destroy Trees, Art, and Jewish Thought. Let's start in the alcove out here in front of the intro wall.
Oh, this looks so different. Oh wow! Oh my God! It's nice to see it so open.
Yeah. So, as we usually do on the walkthroughs, I'm not going to give you sort of the conceptual background on the show because I think you're all much further along than that. I'm going to go more over the floor plan, things to keep an eye out for, things like that. First, I want to thank Colleen and Claire, who you know, in the curatorial department for being just so amazing on this installation and exhibition. It could not have happened without them. And let's get started. So,
and wait, thanks to Dara, because this is her last walkthrough she'll be leading us on, and we're so sad to lose her. But so excited about her new endeavors.
Thank you, and it's been great working with all of you. Thank you so much. So, as you know, this is 2 or even 3 exhibitions, or 3 parts that make up Do Not Destroy. The first, chronologically, that you'll enter is the exhibition, which is the contemporary artists dealing with the theme of the tree in their work. So not artists that were invited, but work that I chose to include in the exhibition. The second part is the Dorothy Sachs Invitational, that when you're finished, you come out through the end of that section, and we'll get to it when we go around the exhibition. And then the third is out on the plaza, which you probably saw when you came in tonight, which is the Rebar installation. The Rebar is a local design, art and design studio based in San Francisco, and we commissioned them to do a project on the plaza with trees. So, the first work that you encounter in this exhibition is Zadok Ben David's installation Blackfield, and you should all walk around it because that's when you get to see how beautiful it is. As you notice, it's very delicate and it's somewhat fragile, and I really hope that all of you will be ambassadors to protect this artwork, and that you will make sure that people are not getting too close. I do want people to bend down and look at it, but we don't want people touching it, touching the sand or touching the flowers, because it took a whole crew to install them, and so I really ask you to protect this artwork and to make sure that you're helping us do that. So watching people's bodies around it and making sure that your visitors are not touching the artwork.
I think like a good 2.5, 3 feet away from this, especially for kids, and modeling, not pointing too closely, because this is going to be so tempting. So
we are hoping not to put tape on it because it is so magical the way it is. But we are going to have wedges that say "Do Not Touch" down here. On preschool gallery hours, school groups, and the free Tuesdays, we are going to stanchion it off so people cannot get close to it. It's unfortunate, but I think we sort of need to protect it. And we just hope that that's the only time we'll have to do it, and we'll encourage people, if they want to experience it, to come back on a day when it's just a normal day. But we hope that those will be the only times when we'll have to do that. So I think do any of you have questions about this piece? If you want, do you want to know briefly about the installation process? Okay. Zadok Ben David is an Israeli artist based in London. He's installed this work many times all over the world in international art exhibitions around the world, in a couple different biennials. He works with a crew of assistants. So he first worked with a big group of assistants when he had the work installed the first time. He had a number of assistants painting the backsides in color. So that was sort of the first step. About 3-4 years ago, when he first installed this work, assistants painted these in all these technicolors, and he told a wonderful story how he had an Indian painter working on it, and a Japanese painter working on it, and you could tell the different styles that they had, and they ended up like not getting along, and we had to like fire them and start from scratch and get new assistants. So it's been a collaborative sort of big production since its inception. And then when the work was shipped here, just all these flowers were packed in a box by size. We had about 5 assistants working with him Monday through Friday of last week. The assistants basically took tape and cut tape and folded the bottom of the flower. So they have a base that gets folded, and they put tape over the base and organized them on trays by size. And he, drew the circle and drew rings in it, knowing that he was going to sort of install it in these rings with like a pathway, a big sort of pathway in the front through it. And he basically just sat on his knees, installing piece by piece with the tape, patting it down, while the assistants were cutting the tape and sticking it on. And by Thursday, I think, or Wednesday evening, he was able to, or Wednesday afternoon, was able to start pouring the sand on the pieces. And then he leaves a section not done so that he always has space around it. So
he's actually taping onto the floor?
Yes. Yeah.
How many days total?
This is 5,000 pieces, and he was done by Thursday at the end of the day.
And how does the sand pour?
Just with a sifter, almost like icing sugar, kind of.
Dara, are these laser cut?
Yes.
Is it what?
Laser cut.
Are there any?
And they're based on Victorian botanical drawings that he has been sort of enamored with for years in his activity.
Are there any
How, what?
How heavy is the paper? It's metal.
Oh, it's
Metal.
metal. It's metal, and they're fairly light. They're very thin. They're so thin that you kind of I notice people like prick themselves on it. Like they're really, really thin.
Are there any duplicates?
There are, not many, but like 1 in a few hundred, I think, duplicate. And so he made sure when he came across them that they weren't installed close to each other.
Is it enamel?
900 originals.
Right. There you go. And then there's 5,000 here. This is almost the smallest he's ever installed it. It's been installed with like 17,000, I think, was the biggest.
20,000?
20,000.
20.
Yeah.
Is it enamel?
And it's usually a square. This is the second time he's done it in a circle.
Does he have a preconceived plan, or does he just...
It's by size. So not like each flower, but a mix of sizes. 5,000. Yeah.
Is it enamel paint?
No, I don't. No, it's not. It's just. I think it's just acrylic.
And I just saw a couple educators come in late. We just want to really, really emphasize for, I think it was Julie and Rebecca, about keeping really far distance between this work and visitors, especially school groups. So sitting on a floor with like a certain distance away, I mean, just really, really being vigilant about that.
Oh, I mentioned that. Yeah, I mentioned that he could, stylistically they were different. He could tell who painted which flower. No. He just got different assistants. Okay, any more questions about the piece? Yeah.
How did he bubble the sand?
It's all taped. And he used a small brush, to wipe away the sand. Yeah.
So the sand is loose right now.
It's totally loose. Yeah.
Are they all based on real flowers and plants?
I think that was a starting point. I don't know if he added his own flair.
He did some research on that. He did do some hybrids of actual plants, and also some are from his own imagination. So some are actuals and then some are creations.
And didn't you say that some of it looks like filigree, which was based on his father's work in Yamanath jewelry?
Well, I think that's definitely in his mind when he's working, yeah.
Well, that was an important point, that his father was a jeweler who was very deft at using tools to cut metal.
Yeah.
So, are these metal lanterns?
Yeah.
Yeah, for materials questions, this checklist should have, the label copy should have all the information about materials.
Okay, so the work just behind you here is by the Israeli artist Tal Shafak, where she's waited for these trees to be in the height of their ripeness, and then gone and photographed them, blacking out the background, so you have them, dramatically lit against this black background. And it's a peach tree, an almond tree, an apple tree, a pomegranate, and a persimmon tree, all trees that grow in Israel. And it's just sort of a nice way to set up the exhibition. So the front wall is the intro to both exhibitions and mentions rebar on the plaza. This is the introduction for just this show.
I should mention there's a huge piece of hers as the magnets.
As a magnets, yeah. The work on the right side over here is by Robert Weems, as is the log. This is called Butternut, and it's just really fantastic, both from a distance and up close. This is a complete exact rendering of a tree that fell on his property that he captured in watercolor. And watch the pedestal. And each time the tree branched off into another, each time the trunk branched off, he started a new piece of paper. I love how it sort of almost looks reptilian. And you can see it up here. This seems to be really alive. This is sort of an ironic piece that he did. He built this log out of other pieces of wood and then carved it so that it looks like a log, and then hand painted it so it feels like a log, even though it's just made out of wood. So sort of like returning wood back to its natural form.
You can see on the side of plywood.
That it's plywood, yeah. When you look from the side, you can see that it's not a real log. That's sort of. In the center here is the Roxy Payne model for a large work called Palimpsest, which is on a hilltop in Los Angeles. And Roxy Payne, he's a really well-known artist who does these large-scale installations outside. And you see these trees appear, these sort of giant trees appear with next to trees. From a distance, they seem very real, and then you get up close and you see that what they're doing actually sort of defies nature, that trees couldn't actually be the way that he's depicted them. You can actually see that this was used because he's numbered it, and so you can tell this model actually was used to build the larger version. And in fact, the lender told me that when he was building the larger version, he asked if they could send this, even though he had already purchased it from the gallery, but if he could send this so that they could make sure they were doing it, the correct way. He had drawings and photographs, but they wanted the actual model. So this is a very useful for in his process, not just made, as a commercial thing for people to buy, but actually used when making the real ones. And you can actually find it online, the real one, in situ, like on this property. So you can I know you guys often have things with you to show people. It might be nice so you can see sort of the scale of it. I can send Janine the link.
Send me the link, yeah, I'll get it for you.
Where is it located?
I think it's in Los Angeles.
Dara, can you tell us what we could see visually that makes it not possible?
I think what's going on right here is what strikes me as sort of man-made.
So his purpose is to play with the idea of...
He calls these dendroids, which is a term used for like systems of information or systems of language, and so he really sees these as a system. Like a rhizomatic system, one thing connected to another that connects to another that all sort of affect one another.
It's like neural networks in the brain.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of analogies between that and the brain, or like architecture, engineering, that sort of thing. And he's made these all over the world. Most recently, he did a large-scale installation at the Israel Museum when they reopen their building. They have a new one on their campus. There's a huge one in the National Gallery of Canada in Ottawa that's fairly recent, and there's beautiful. There's footage of him installing it online. If you just look up Roxy Payne, if you Google him, you can find videos of interviews. He's very well-spoken, and he has done a lot of sort of publicity-like things that you can find online. This is in arm's reach, even though we've put this out here to protect it, but just, keep an eye out on it too, because people can easily reach it, which we don't want people to do because it's very fragile, the tips.
The way it's marked off.
Like that, don't do that.
No, I'm sorry. The way it's marked off in sections, does it disassemble or is it?
No, but that's how the real one was assembled by. So I think those numbers correspond to what the numbers assembly.
Where are their numbers?
There's numbers in, no, but there's numbers down here.
Is it cast?
This is, yeah. But I think his other ones are, the large scale ones are not cast, I don't think. I'll double check, but I don't think they are. So before we move to these works, on the back wall is the Joseph Boys 7,000 Eichen project, which is this large scale citywide project that he did, that Joseph Boys, an activist, an important sort of activist artist who worked primarily in the 60s and 70s. This is him planting the first tree, this project where he planted 7,000 trees. Each tree was planted with a basalt stone, and the stones were stored in front of the Friedrich Kahnem, which is the museum in Kassel where Documenta is held each year. And as the project progressed, the stones diminished because they would move them to each tree. This last color image here is in New York. As I mentioned, the project was continued about 10 years after it was finished in Kassel. Dia Art Foundation in in New York, planted a number of trees in honor of Boys to continue the spirit of his project on West 22nd Street in Chelsea in front of their space. And right here is the Rodney Graham, the upside down tree. And we'll just sort of, in this space is the Junwen Hatsushiba video, but none of the video works are turned on tonight, so you'll have to come back for those. And then along this wall, which, watch yourself because there's still some equipment out, are the three large-scale paintings. On the left is Claire Sherman, a young artist based in New York. It's a really beautiful painting. When I saw I didn't get to see it when I met with her, but it's just a spectacular painting. The surface of it, if you look at the brushwork, it's really fabulous. So take a look at that one. It sort of has this chaotic feeling to it, sort of like wild nature. This work by Marcel Odenbach is really spectacular. It's all collaged, and you can see all the trees are made from newspapers and music sheets, and the greenery is lots of different faces, both famous people, German people, Hollywood, faces from paintings, well-known paintings. It really sort of spans culture with all the different references that are at the bottom.
So Dara, this question has come up a couple times in our training about identifiable faces, and Colleen helped identify some pop culture icons. Are there any people from German history who we know for sure in there?
I don't know.
And can you show us the pop icons?
Yeah, show us who you know.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think is Tony Curtis in it? Yeah, there's Elizabeth Taylor. James Dean.
Barbara Stanwyck.
Yeah, Betty Davis, I see. Yeah.
Cary Grant.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley.
Right.
Yeah. But let's just remember, we don't want hands going over this railing either when you're giving your tours. So make sure you are setting an example and not, putting your body over this, because we really want this to be like a barrier that you're not getting closer. Okay?
What's this person's last name?
Odenbach. Yeah.
Do you know what the music is or no?
The music notes? I don't. It's on the far, there's one in the middle and then one on the far left too. This is the American painter April Gornick. It's light in the woods, and it's also another just really beautiful painting. The light, and just imagining sort of being in this forest during that time of day with the amber light. It's just really spectacular.
April Gornick on the cover of the J this week. Last week, this week.
That was great.
Yeah.
Has the ceiling always been open?
Yes. You mean there are, you mean open like that?
Yeah, like I have no recollection of that from.
The wall was, you can see, it was obscured kind of by the wall, but the ceiling hasn't changed at all. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're really happy with the configuration of the wall.
And those are the historic window trusses. So if you're ever connecting the architecture with the with your what's going on up here, those are
they covered?
everything gray. Yeah, they're covered.
the skylights
The
are.
skylights are covered. Yeah.
What did you Outside? say?
Both.
Oh.
I didn't really say very much. Yeah. This is the Rona Pondic sculpture, face and tree. As I think we've talked about, she cast her, over time she's cast her entire body. Here her face is living with the tree, with the different tree branches.
Could you say more about cast her body?
Over time, she's cast her entire body, like her hands, her teeth, all of her limbs, and she blends them into tree structure. She's now doing more pieces where her body is blended in with animal figures, but for a good 5-10 years, she was working around the tree and the parts of her body, sort of combining nature and humans.
So,
Those are the
right.
roots. Yeah.
is that where some of her steel parts went?
No, it's really just her head.
Just her, oh.
It's different. Different artworks have different parts of her
Yeah,
body.
and then she uses real tree branches and connects them, and then sort of creates a tree out of lots of different trees, almost like Gabriella, but then casts them into one solid tree.
Okay, so it's,
But
this is metal itself. This is all
It is. She
cast.
goes, yeah, it's stainless steel. She goes and scavenges for branches that she likes, and then combines them into a tree form.
So the only human part in this is the head.
That's correct.
I don't have a
Dara,
teeth.
could you explain some of the symbolism behind the reason for her putting her body parts into trees?
You know, she mentioned Judaism as a part of that, sort of the roles that trees play in the Torah, the relationship between humans and trees. She's just really looking at that relationship.
And also the wall label tells us she's thinking about planting trees in someone's memory.
Yeah,
This idea about memorializing a person through a tree.
exactly.
The relationship doesn't feel very good to me.
Well, they're almost because they're sort of creepy. Her words. Yeah.